you are getting a big bonus today, because today we're going to talk about a skill video. We're going to talk about a financial concept that will help you understand the world around you from a different lens. We're going to speak about something called tragedy of the commons. This is something that you will be taught early in business school, in your finance courses, and it's also one of the main arguments for why private property is very much needed in society. And once you realize these arguments, you will see that yes, indeed, there are some very good points for it, but there are also some counterpoints that can be made to the financial theory. Alright, so tragedy of the commons, what is it? Let's first do the school book example that you will find in finance literature, and then let's do more of a real world example, one that will strengthen the theory and one that will disprove the theory. So, hold your horses before you write examples. You can listen in, and then if you feel that the comment can add some extra value for viewers, well, feel free to add it. Alright, so what is tragedy of the commons? Well, it's a theory that basically states that if an asset does not have an owner, if it's a public asset, then it will be mismanaged, abused, because nobody owns it, nobody really cares for it. So let's say it's a fishing pond that you have out somewhere, then people will just get as much fish as they can as quickly as possible, and then the pond will be empty. Or a grassing field, every farmer will take their herd there and they will ruin it. The cows will eat the grass by the roots, basically. So this is what's described in finance literature as tragedy of the commons, and that's one of the arguments for why we need private property. Because let's say that a farmer owned this plot of land, well, then it would be in the farmer's own interest to manage this well, to keep this plot of land grassed, in a natural way, or for the fisherman to not overfish in this pond. So that's basically the theory for tragedy of the commons, the textbook finance theory. And for some real life examples, we can see that yes, indeed, this holds true. In Sweden, we have had to issue, for example, fishing cards for normal ponds of water, for everything not to be overfished, for all the fish to be gone, for the ecosystem to basically be messed up at this point. But then we also have some theory, some examples that disprove this theory. And in this case, we have to look to the east, to, for example, Japan, and people, they do things differently over there. You can look at, for example, I heard this crazy story. A friend of mine was there. He used a public restroom, and he saw this older Japanese man that after he had washed his hand, in the sink, there was a little bit of water splash there, and this old Japanese man, he would take a paper towel and he would wipe, the sink to make sure that it was clean, proper, ready for the next person to use it. So if they can even manage to keep a public bathroom fresh, well, then perhaps there's something different in the mindset over there when it comes to managing assets and not subjecting them to the tragedy of the commons. But then again, if we look to more of the West, for example, those of us who live in a legacy brand country such as Ireland, we can see that yes, indeed, the financial theory of tragedy of the commons very much hold true here. Even if you have private property, let's say you park your bike somewhere, there's a huge risk of it getting stolen, and we don't even respect private property in a lot of Western countries. So that was the school book theory of tragedy of the commons, explaining this case for private property using one example 4. and one example against. Hopefully you found it entertaining, educational, and as always, hope you guys make a ton of money, whatever investments you decide to make. Take care now. Bye bye.